What's going on, y'all? It's Cool Colas here with another cool video. So today I got another really interesting topic to talk to y'all about. Specifically, what I want to talk about is something that I think a lot of people who are creators and writers and everything in between that they don't typically do. I would also include like people who are big time business owners and things like that. They don't do this, but the one thing I want to talk about today are what my personal biggest flaws are when it comes to writing. So the reason why I want to get into this topic is because I saw a Facebook post that resonated a lot with me. One of my friends on Facebook had posted something where he was talking about how he doesn't care for just hearing a success story. He wants to know, like, other challenges that, people who are in business or people who are trying to create something on their own actually face. So that's actually been a concern of mine personally too, just even before doing everything that I've been doing. I've been looking at all these people who like go on social media and they tell their success stories, but they don't tell like challenges that they face. They don't give tips about things that they really went through. Not typically. They don't like say, hey, I messed up today and this is what I did. And you don't really see that because most of social media is, people creating a facade where they want everybody to see them in a good light. Everybody wants to have this boss image. Everybody wants to have this image of perfection, of flawlessness. And the funny and ironic thing about it is that these same people who want this image will try to say something deep about how they don't, that they're not perfect or whatever. So for me, I feel like that's missing whenever I hear someone's success story. I don't hear about all the challenges they faced, how difficult things were for them, the things that they did wrong, their struggles, their issues. And I just think as humans, we're not accustomed to really telling each other the things that we go through or the like troubles that we experience. Well, mainly because we live in a culture where people act like they don't want to hear it. And a lot of times it's not really an act, they just don't. So anyway, I'm breaking that mold and I'm going to be doing that in this video. So I actually have two flaws that I think are equally big as far as me in writing. And first one I want to get into is something that might be very obvious if you know me personally, or if you watch any of my videos, or if you look at any of the content that I've created, even like things that I've typed like by text. But my biggest flaw, I would say, or one of the two biggest flaws that I have is that I talk entirely too much to the point where every single character, like when I first write something, is talking a lot. So in other words, every single character that I have sounds just like me. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a very analytical person. I give a lot of information. I give a lot of details, like the things that I feel that are very important that actually help to cultivate the story that I'm trying to create. Everybody knows that I like to give dialogue and I'm good at conversation, and I converse very well with other people for the most part. And I just do a very good job at trying to, like I said, just cultivate my words in a way where people are able to understand what I'm saying and I'm conveying myself in the appropriate way. So that was a mouthful, and that probably sounded like a mouthful even from me just saying what I just said right there. But anyway, the point that I was trying to make here is that I have a habit of doing that in my writing. Like everybody is supposed to sound so eloquent. Everybody is supposed to have all these like great details mapped out of what they're going to say. Everybody has like these big words that they use all the time. Everybody has this impeccable ability to communicate. But sometimes I have to go back and I have to realize some of these characters, they may not be very talkative. Some of these characters may be very quiet. Some may be very cold. Some may be very upbeat, but they're just not like deep. So I think that that's one of my biggest challenges, is that I always have to monitor whether or not my characters have too much dialogue when they speak. So a lot of times, like, I'll have to go back in the story and have to review, like, what is this character's purpose? What is this character's purpose? What is this character's purpose? And then just see, like, what works best for what character. So anybody who's watching this who wants to be a writer or who has been writing themselves, that's one thing to note to self. Make sure your characters are not speaking like you. Now, what's ironic is when I was in school, I used to be very good at English, right? But like the thing is that I never really had the issue of, I don't know why I have this pen in my hand, but I never really had the issue of like writing, how I talk, how I spoke when I would create like a paper, like a thesis paper or a research paper. I never had the issue of like sounding how I sound when I speak. But when I write stories and I create characters, for some reason that issue just comes to surface. I can't really explain why. I don't know why I do it, but I do it. So yeah, that's one issue that I think that I have, and it's something that I've been working on. I would say that before I ever put like any story out or anything that I am actually creating, I'll make sure that the dialogue sounds in a way where I like that's how I will want that character to speak. So I've definitely gotten better at least catching when I do it, but I would say that when I'm in that initial process of creating a manuscript, I tend to have that issue of making the character say more than they probably should, or just not having them have the dialogue that they should probably have to make that character unique. So that's one thing. The other thing, which I think is an equally bad issue for me in particular, is I have structural issues. And what I mean by that is I have structural issues inside and outside of writing. So to elaborate, I don't really have like a routine. So for me to be such a eloquent person as far as the way that I speak, analytical is in the way that I like break things apart and whatnot, I really have a bad habit of not actually having a set structure. So I'm really like a true creative. Like I truly am one of those people who just does things. I like to act. Like I plan to, but I really, really like to act. I like to just do things. I like to get things down on paper. So when I write, that's all I'm doing. So in other words, it's like in my head I have a whole system in the way that I would develop a character or develop a story or develop a scenario or what I want to do with this storyline that I'm creating, whether I'm writing a comic, whether I'm trying to write a novel, or whether I'm trying to write a screenplay or whatever the case is. And a lot of times I don't actually have like a system that I actually go by that is formal. Like I know that whenever I'm writing, like for example, a comic script, I know that I'll have this process where I'll say, this is this season of whatever comic. These characters exist here, and then this is this character's motivation. This is that character's motivation. This is that character's motivation. And then as I write, I also start kind of editing the things that I initially said. So, I mean, it's like I have a structure, but I don't. It's like I don't have it mapped out where it's like, I go by character, and I say, this character, what are their personality traits for this particular issue? What are the issues that they're facing during this issue? Who is the person that they may or may not have a conflict with? What is the thing that's going on here? Is it a flashback? Is it something that's actually going on in the present? What's happening there? So I think that that's something that I kind of deal with. I also deal with it from issues from a structural standpoint when it comes to just what I typically do in my writing process. So in other words, like I don't have like a specific notebook I go to. I just try to write things down when I write them down. And then like, I have like, well, I guess I take that back a little bit. I have certain places I go to, but I find myself, whenever I feel the need to just write something down, jotting it down anywhere. So in other words, I have my phone, the notes app on the iPhone that I use to try to put down ideas whenever I'm somewhere, whether it's, I'm in the car and I have an idea, or I'm like in the grocery store or whatever and I have an idea. And I also have my computer where I store all my files because I don't want to lose any of my stuff that I've been working so hard on. But at the same time, like I may have a notebook just sitting around and I may just write something down because I'm like, I really don't want to forget it. I don't have my phone by me and I don't have my computer by me. So I have that habit of kind of not having a structure around like where I write stuff all the time. And I'm one of those writers, and I'm pretty sure any writer who is a serious writer probably has dealt with this issue to some capacity. But I'm one of those people where I have thousands of notebooks just laying around everywhere. And then it's like some I use, some I don't, some I barely use, some I use a lot, some I used to use a lot, but now I just stopped from out of nowhere. And that's what I mean. It's a big structural issue. It's a big issue with me not having something where I'm like, this is the notebook that I write in. This is what I write in this one specifically, and so on and so forth. Again, I do have my computer and I do store files in there because I don't want to lose any of my work. I do have my cell phone where I put notes in there, and that's because I want to jot down things so I don't forget them. So I do have that as well too. But at the same time, I just want to make it clear that I do have a habit of having some structural issues inside of writing and outside of writing. I'm working on it. You know, I don't claim to be a very a perfect person. You know, we all have our weaknesses. We all have our strengths. I try to enhance my strengths as much as possible. And I don't try to like make myself so balanced that I as a person don't stand out one way or another. But at the same time, when I notice that there's certain issues that need to be worked on, then I try to tackle them the best way that I can. So it's, again, a work in progress, but I just want to be transparent about the issues that I have. So there you have it. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you a little bit of insight. And if you're someone who experiences this problem, I hope that this gave you a little bit of motivation, or at least like comfort to understand that, you know, you're not alone and there's somebody else who's struggling with that process the same way that you are. Nothing is wrong with you. It's just like some things that you need to kind of work through. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. If you want to see more, keep looking at all my IGTV videos. I mean, I didn't roll off the tongue too well, did it? But anyway, yeah, just keep looking at my IGTV videos. I also have like a lot of things on social media that you can check out, like my Twitter, which is at KolosCool. You can also check out my my Instagram. You're probably already on it, but it's at Creative Kolos. And then you can always go on my author page on Facebook if you're on Facebook, and that's at Cool Kolos Author. If you just type that into the search bar, you can find me there. I'm going to be putting updates on all of those and you know, the coming up time. And then the last thing that I would also say too is if you want to check out any of my content that I'm going to be putting out, because again, I put out 2 blog posts per week up until the release of my book. You can check that out at creativekolos.com. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace.